On tonight's episode of Vanderpump Rules.
What other treasures do we hold in here? That's a backpack. B. It's an ambient machine. And so am I, baby. I'm actually getting rid of this. This is Daddy's little silver medal right here. Oh God, this thing. Whatever's above S tier, and then whatever's like 80,000 degrees above that, that's this. Boy, oh boy, you are in for a treat with this one. Maybe. A little while ago, my grandpa, Ben Jordan, posted a video where he tier listed all of the gear in his studio because maybe that's helpful for someone out there. And in the spirit of YouTube, where you just rip off other people's content and label it as your own, I thought to myself, hey, I could do that. If you're not familiar with the concept of tier listing, it's this thing people do on the internet for attention that's like one step above all that fucking garbage reaction content, and it works like this. I'm gonna take a piece of gear and I'm gonna rank it on this here scale. The scale goes in order: F at the bottom for fucking garbage, D for dog shit, C for it's pretty cool, I guess, B for boy, that thing's actually pretty damn good, A for all right, and S for fuck me, that thing's amazing. I suppose I should apologize in advance if this video is not like my normal stuff. It's gonna look and feel a bit different. I've been in the middle of a couple big projects. I haven't been focusing on YouTube much, as you can probably tell by the chaos everywhere in here. I'm also going through sort of a restructuring and reorganization period in my home studio, and I also got this new camera that can follow me around while I do things. And maybe this whole video is just a really roundabout way of me justifying that completely unnecessary purchase. I suppose I should also say up front, this video is probably gonna be pretty long. The gear is presented in no particular order, and this is not sponsored in any way, shape, or form. This is just me doing something I need to do and turning it into content, because that's what life is all about. The Polyen Tracker. This is a hardware tracker, one of several that are out on the market. I really liked it at first until I got the Play, which pretty much ruined this for me. So currently I would probably rank this as a C. Before I got the Play, definitely A. As someone who had never really touched a tracker seriously up until I got this thing got me interested in it and made it actually fun and pretty reasonable to do. It's got a really big screen, which made it pretty approachable. It's crazy functional and you can do all sorts of weird things with it, but once I got the Play, this thing has sat in the box pretty much ever since. The Rollei Lumi keys, I unboxed this maybe 2 or 3 times and used it for a video project with Rollei and Cubase, and used it a little bit as an MPE controller, but I already had the Sensel Morph, so this thing just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. The software was super buggy and annoying to install. It really was just not my thing. This, probably D. What's this thing? The iRig Pro Quattro IO. I know for a fact I never even opened the box, so don't know. Oh boy, this thing, the Scarlett 2i2, 3rd generation. I really like the Scarlett interfaces. I think they're really kick-ass, especially for the value. This thing, probably A. Arturia Minifuse 1. I used this and tested it out. I actually used the Minifuse 4 myself as my travel interface, and I gave my wife the Minifuse 2. Minifuse 1 is great as well, just not enough connectivity for me. So for me personally, this is pretty useless, but for, I guess, the average person, this is probably up there with A. It comes with really cool software, it's super easy to use, and I mean, damn, this thing is really cheap. Oh, the Arturia Keylab 61 Mark II. This thing's great. It served me super well for many years. I love the pans and sliders. It's a super programmable controller. The drum pads are good, maybe leaving a little bit to be desired. I think that's my only detraction from this. Keys are great, functionality's great, the ins and outs are great. This thing, easily A tier. Oh, I suppose that brings us to this. This is the Novation Launchkey 61 Mark III. I got this for a project with Novation, and it sat in the box ever since because I had my Keylab, and this thing is pretty much exactly the same as the Keylab in terms of functionality and stuff. I don't like this one as much. I don't like the keys. It feels a lot cheaper. The sliders were kind of weird. I just didn't vibe with it, but I think it is significantly cheaper than the Arturia one. For this one, I would say a C. This is the Arturia Minilab Mark II. I have the Mark III now as my sort of portable travel controller, so I don't use this one much anymore. This, I guess, I would give it a solid B. So that's everything in that room, and now back up to the studio room we go. Studio intern number 1, AKA Miss Callie. Hi, Ollie. Okay, apparently it's his turn. Studio intern number 2, AKA Ollie. I give a D for a big old dingus. And studio intern number 1, AKA Callie. S tier, best lady, give me 5. All right. Okay, let's see what we've got over in this here pile. This is the Sensel Morph. It's a MPE controller and it has these different layouts you could put on it. I have the keyboard one, I've got the Buchla easel one, and then I've got, I think this is called the music producer overlay. Sensel quit making it, and I believe they've now completely quit supporting it, so not of much value to me. I like it. Overall, it's a super cool concept, and I thought it was a very functional MPE controller being so small, but after getting some larger format MPE controllers, I just didn't find myself using this one as much, and then once the support and all that was dropped for it, I just didn't see much of a point in it. Back in its day, I would say this is an A. Currently, I guess it's a C. It's still there and it still works up until it won't anymore. Oh boy, the trusty Arturia KeyStep Pro. I'm actually getting rid of this because I just haven't used it in a really long time, but damn, this thing is great. I love the sort of pseudo-generative things it can do. As a sequencer, it's super powerful. As a little portable MIDI controller, it's great. This used to be my sort of portable controller. I just didn't like using these stepped knobs as CC controls for when I'm programming stuff on the road, so that's why I prefer the Mini Lab Mark III over this thing, but damn, like what a powerful piece of gear for, relatively speaking, not a whole bunch of money compared to all the features that this thing's packed in. This thing is easily S. Oh boy, my trusty old friend, the Zoom H4n Pro. This was my field recorder for many, many years, and it's pretty good. It does have some weird issues every once in a while where it just like takes forever to boot, or things get goofy, or it like starts marking things for no reason. I don't really know what the deal is with some of these, but I think the Zoom controllers are kind of notorious for having these weird bugs in them. Overall though, super sturdy and reliable and has served me very well over the years. This thing's A tier for me, probably because I just have so many fond memories of going out recording things with it, and this being kind of my start into getting into more adventurous sound design and field recording. Let's see, this guy is the AudioFuse Studio from Arturia. This thing kicks ass. I love the features on this. I love the build on this. I love the look of it. I maybe wish it had a couple more mic preamps and stuff, but you can expand that with their other gear or with another interface of your choice. Included software and stuff is great, just like with the Mini Fuse lineup. I just upgraded to the AudioFuse 16 rig, which I'm sure we'll talk about later in this video. Overall, yeah, this thing rocks. S tier, easily, far and away, one of the best interfaces I've used. I need some light over here. I guess we should talk about these. These are Tannoy Gold 7 studio monitors. These things are great. I love that they're front ported. They're really loud. They're super clear. I think the low end was pretty good. It maybe left a little bit to be desired, just because I know historically I had some issues, especially trying to get things below about 100 hertz to translate well, but I think that might have just been the room I was using them in. Once I used them in this room though, they were great, you know, for monitors under, I believe under $300 or right at $300 a pop. These things are pretty kick-ass, so I would give these a A, I think. My main MIDI controller is this thing here. This is the Casio PX S7000. They always have really weird model names. This thing's great. It's my daily driver for everything. The keys are fully weighted. It's a full 88 key keyboard. It has built-in sounds, which is really why I wanted this, because I really value the ability to come up here when I can't sleep in the middle of the night and have something to, you know, play and make music on without having to fire up my whole computer. It has really cool wooden legs that you probably can't see. It's got the 3-pedal setup down there. It's inspired me to practice piano a lot more. I've never really been a big piano player. I'm not terrible, but I'm not great. But this thing makes me want to get better at it. It's my daily driver and it's held up well, which is saying something, because I use this thing for, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 hours a day in some cases, and still plays like the day I set it up. And it's great. I think easily a pretty solid A tier for me. The onboard sounds leave something to be desired, but like, you know, that's really not the end of the world. I'm not using the onboard sounds for anything, but maybe that would be the only detraction from it, I guess. So yeah, A tier for sure. While we're over here, I guess there are a couple random MIDI items and other things on my desk I should probably talk about. This is one I probably get asked about the most. This is the Sparrow 5x5. It's a MIDI controller type thing. It's got 5 sliders and 5 knobs. That's the 5x5. You know, I mean, C. It's exactly what you would expect it is. It's good, it's efficient, it does the job. The door MIDI through 6, it's just a MIDI through box. C, it does what it says it does. For my primary audio interface, back here I have the Arturia AudioFuse 16 rig. I changed out because I just needed more inputs for synthesizers and stuff. Mic preamps aren't super mission critical to me. Sometimes it does get annoying to only have 2 on the front, but it hasn't been the end of the world. Whenever I really need a multi-mic setup, I can just record it with my field recorder in here and it's not the end of the world. Overall, kick-ass interface. The digital patch bay is exceptionally useful for routing different pedals and things together with synths, or just routing hardware in different ways, and it's super, super cool. I miss some of the features of the AudioFuse Studio, but I don't know, not the end of the world. Overall, yeah, S. It's great, great interface for a setup like mine. So we should probably get studio monitors over with. These are Atom Audio S2Vs, and then over here I have the Sub 10 Mark II or something like that, whatever the matching sub thing is for these. These sound extraordinary. I can't say much more than that. They are super punchy and clear. They are very transparent. They're front ported. I mean, damn, these are incredible. S all the way, no question about it. Suppose by now y'all know my friend, the magic shitbox here. It's a speaker from Walmart or whatever. It's awful, D, I guess, and that's what makes it great. So for its actual usefulness to me factor, A. Other than that, Behringer Microamp HA400. It's a little headphone amplifier. I mean, C, you know, it's a headphone amp. That's what it does. The Arturia MiniFuse 4, the go-to travel interface. Yeah, S, no complaints. Arturia MiniFuse 2 here, another great super tiny interface from Arturia. This one my wife has. I know she loves it when she's working on stuff on her computer. I think it's great. Before the 4 came out, this was my portable audio interface for going around doing stuff while I'm traveling or working on my laptop. But for that, it's super functional. For a beginner studio, I think this would be great. I think this is almost the ideal interface for a beginner. It comes with all the cool software and all that stuff, has all the same features as the other ones, and you know, just kicks ass for the price especially. I think this one probably A.5 tier. And here we have Minilab 3. This is my current portable on the road controller. My wife is using this right now so she can play with music stuff on her computer. This thing kicks ass. It's got the sliders on it, it's got the knobs, it's got the drum pads, it's got mod and pitch, it's got pretty decent keys on it, and this thing kicks ass, so S tier for me. Tascam Portacapture X8, my current field recorder, 32-bit float. You know, lots of connectivity, 4 microphones, which kicks ass, 192K recording, which is fucking useless. It makes this insane high-pitched whine if you slow down any of the upper sample rate recordings, rendering them pretty pointless. I want to replace this with something else, but I know that the Zoom stuff also has a lot of issues. So that in mind, as a field recorder for just general recording, probably a pretty A tier item. Being useful to do the things I was hoping to do with it, like D. It's a real pain in the ass to remove that high-pitched, screechy tone, and I don't know why they can't just fix that. So now we probably ought to move on to all this stuff, but I need somewhere to put it first. So I'm gonna go ahead and just build me another shelf thing. Okay, and done. It actually went together quicker than expected. I'm pretty proud of my shelf. I guess we could put this over there, or I could put it over there. Realistically, I can put this wherever I want, because if there's one thing you should know about me, it's that I've got pretty good shelf control. So now that we're packing the shelf, I guess it's time to make our way through boxes. First up, Tascam TH07 headphones. Don't like the way they feel on my head. The sensation is no bueno. The sound is not really my favorite. I use them as my field recording headphones. I guess I would give these a C. I guess while we're on the subject of headphones over here, I've got my III TMA2 Plus, or TMA Plus, I don't know, some fucking bullshit name like that, wireless/wired headphones. These can be wireless or wired. These things are great. For closed back headphones, I really, really like these. I like the way they fit, I like the way they feel. I've used these for many very, very long sessions and haven't made my head hurt or anything like that. So the wireless functionality is great. It's a little bit buggy and weird. There's like a constant beep that happens where I don't know if it's like disconnecting and reconnecting or what. With the wireless features, if you were truly using them for that, I think they'd be like a C, because that beeping can get pretty old. It's not the worst thing in the world and it doesn't really stop me from working, but it does piss me off now and again. But for just a pair of closed back headphones, I would say a solid B+. Other than that, I have these. These are my Austrian Audio HI X65 mastering headphones and whatever. These are open back and fuck me, these things sound incredible. These are S-tier headphones for sure. They're not for everybody. Open backs are not the most ideal if you don't have a quiet environment to work in, but goddamn, these sound amazing. What other treasures do we hold in here? Do we go through microphones? I don't know that we need to go through microphones. You don't really care about those. Ooh, here's a good one. This is the Neutral Labs Elmira 2. It's a little teeny semi-modular drone synthesizer, and it's pretty kick-ass. It has these cool little cartridges, which is similar to the thing the Solar 42 does for different effects and whatever that it has on the filter and stuff. Super cool. It's not what I thought it would be. It doesn't sound exactly like the Lyra 8, which is kind of what I was like hoping it would do. I don't know why, even though it's like not even made by the same people, but really cool. It's a very specific sound. It's a pretty specific use case, but I dig it. Overall, a very strong B. Looking for some other goodies. The Radio Shack TCR 200 voicemail recorder that records on cassette. Way noisier than I thought it would be, which is a pain to work with. Probably F tier. If I could find a better voicemail recorder or tape recorder thing for super cheap, it would probably be better. The Soma Ether, one of my many impulse buys. Pretty cool. It does one thing, and I don't really have anything else that does it. For sound design stuff, it's just kind of a useful tool to pull out now and again. I would probably rank it a B. It's useful, but it's such a specific case use. Okay, next box. What treasures do we have inside? Oh yeah, this guy, the homie, the Landscape Noon. What a fucking bizarre piece of equipment this is. It's kind of like something you just sample, because there's not anything else that does what it does, and you have to get pretty creative with the samples. The sounds right out of the box are really good for like techie, kind of industrial things, and for sound design applications you can use them, but they really shine when you start to, you know, push them through treatment and stuff, because the timbres and glitchy effects are so bizarre, and the drones you can get are pretty cool. Kind of hard to give this a super high ranking because I don't use it a ton. It's kind of like the Ether, where it's just a very specific case use thing for me. So probably a B. It's super fun and super weird, and it does what it does, but I really gotta be in the mood to use this thing. The Oxy 1 sequencer gizmo. Pretty cool. I don't use this as much now that I have the Polyend Play Plus, but it does a lot of cool generative things and whatnot, but I have not really used it a ton since I got the Play Plus. The other problem I have with this is that the CV outs on mine are kind of broken somehow, and there's a repair I need to do to them that's just like kind of tedious and haven't had the time to do, so it's kind of just sat in the case for a while. I would give this a pretty strong B, I guess. The Torso T1. Man, this thing's super fun. It's, you know, it doesn't look like a whole lot, but it's a really cool algorithmic sequencer, and sometimes I forget how to do certain things on it because there are kind of some macros, but I will give them some serious points for the UI because it's not hard to figure out and it's super fun. It does some cool stuff. It's not overly complicated, but it can get pretty interesting. Super cool. I like this thing a lot. Definitely A. The Waldorf Blofeld. Yeah, I always wanted one of these when I was younger. I don't know why. I remember seeing it in like Guitar Center magazines and thinking it was super cool. It sounds, you know, like the Blofeld. It does some cool stuff. It's pretty powerful with like the multi-timbral abilities, but it is also kind of nerfed by them at the same time, depending on how complex you want the patches to be. I kind of just bought this for fun because I just wanted one when I was younger, and this one was pretty cheap on eBay, and I was like, why not? And, you know, used it a fair bit, and then I got the Iridium, so this is mostly just a thing I have because I have it. I could easily sell this and not miss it, but I don't know, for a nostalgia factor, A, but for actual usability here right now, D, I guess. The Korg MS2000R with really dinged up corner piece, whoops. Bought this because I went to Ben Jordan's house. Ben had an MS2000R. I played with it and really, really, really liked the sound of it and some of the presets. And then I found out it was used on Metroid and I just bought one. It's fun. If I'm being totally honest, I would much rather have probably the Alesis Ion or maybe the Korg Radius, but being kind of an impulse buy, I couldn't justify something like that. And I know the Ion has a lot of problems, but really cool, just digital analog piece of kind of nostalgic 2000s-y sounds. It's not super powerful, but for what it does, it sounds pretty good. Probably a pretty strong C. Gonna grab another box and find out what's inside. Sometimes I wonder if I have too much shit. The RCB Polyend Play Plus. Holy shit, what a device. I adore this thing. This is, I mean, just the most powerful MIDI sequencer tool I've ever used. I love it. It's one of those devices where you see all the marketing bullshit about it of like, it's instant music, blah, 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 blah. And most stuff is just like fucking Kickstarter garbage, but damn, they nailed the UI on this thing. I can sit down and make a track on this in minutes while I'm like eating lunch and make a pretty fun little jam on it. And yeah, I mean, it does exactly what it says it does, and it does it so exceptionally well. The sample import, export, and kind of stuff like that's kind of a pain in the ass. I wish the Play Plus got the microphone of Tracker Mini on it. I don't know if Tracker Plus got that or not, but yeah, S tier, absolutely. Fucking adore the Play Plus. Hell yeah. Empress Zoya Euro Bureau. Love it. For how much use I get out of this thing and all the crazy effects and stuff I can do with it, and it being more or less, before I packed things away, this was my primary desktop processing unit. I just left this hooked up to my audio interface because I could just quickly put together different effects chains and loopers and effects and granular things and distortions and shit. The CV IO leaves some stuff to be desired for sure, but I would say S tier, but because I do have kind of a wish list and because it is kind of slow and clunky, especially if you haven't used it in a while, I would probably realistically put this at an A. That's a backpack. B. Small HD monitor. Thanks to my boy Garlic in the Discord. Thing's great. DaVinci Resolve Speed Editor. Used to use it, don't use it much anymore. C. This is gimbal. B. A bag of unknown origin. Oh, this is a blimp. I don't know. C. It does exactly what it says it does. Oh, Jesus. What a fucking mess this room is right now. Okay, let's get through some of this stuff. Why don't we? This Waldorf Iridium. I would instantly just say S tier, but I know I would like the Quantum better. Like A+. I mean, holy shit, what a synthesizer. You can do pretty much whatever you want on this thing. It's obnoxious. It really is kind of like Pigments or Omnisphere in a box. It's kind of tedious, depending on what you're doing with it. The FM in particular is like kind of a slog. The sample importing sucks. Mapping samples takes forever, but I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like UVI Falcon for me, where there are things I feel like could be improved with the user experience, but I just can't realistically tell you how I would do it, because it just does so much. So super strong A+, would be an S, but there's a bigger, badder version of it, and I would like that better. I just can't afford it, so this is my, this is Daddy's little silver medal right here. This big old dingus right here. Let's get it out of the box. God damn, it's hot up here today. Elta Music, Solar 42. Man, I fucking hate the color on this thing so much. I wish I would have got it in black or white, probably black, but they sent this to me for free, so I can't complain about the color, in all fairness. Elta was just like, hey, we make this thing and we know you'll like it a lot and you'll do something cool with it. And I was like, sure. So I don't think I can, in fairness, knock it for the color, other than just like, what the fuck is this color? I don't know how I would rank this thing. It's such a highly specialized piece of equipment. It's really, really tedious to use. Tuning it takes ages, but God, the sound this thing makes. And it's one of those like spirit animal synths to me, where for scoring work and for darker ambient-y things, or just creating cool samples and textures and stuff, not a whole lot out there like it. It reminds me a lot of like the Lyra 8, where it just kind of does Solar 42 stuff, and it's not gonna do anything beyond that because that's not what it was designed to do. The effects cartridges are really fun and add a lot to it. I'm curious to see if they're gonna make more in the future. I don't know, yeah, man, this one's hard to rank. It's just too different, and it's got stuff that are quirks and annoying factors, like the filters. You know, it's just global filters. There's not, I don't know, a lot of range from it, but just damn, it sounds so good. For me personally, probably S, just because it's like so cool and I love the sound of it, but also like the Noon and stuff, really gotta be in the mood for it. I would say for the average person, this is like a C or C-. And I mean, hey, it tells you right on the box before you even open the thing, it's an ambient machine, and so am I, baby. Ever since I sold off a bunch of stuff from my studio, like, I don't know, 6-7 months ago, I feel like I've only held on to the particularly odd things or the very utilitarian things, and just things I like a lot, which is probably why this video is skewing towards a lot of higher ratings, just because pragmatically I only wanted to keep what I enjoy using. And yeah, this is no exception to the odd factor of things. This, look at it, is the Future Retro Vectra. Boy, how would you describe this thing? It's kind of like, I think it was designed to be oriented towards like acid and stuff. It does a lot of those 303 type things really, really well. It's got a gajillion waveforms. It has an obscene mod matrix. It's got all the joysticks you could desire. When I originally got it, it would really crash a lot due to sequencing with the computer and stuff, but they fixed that in the new firmware. But to upgrade the firmware, I had to ship it to them. But they sent it back. Yeah, man, this thing's cool. I have not had a ton of playtime with it because I haven't been doing a lot of synthy stuff in recent months. I'm extremely excited to dig into this thing more though. I wanted one of these really, really, really bad, and then Future Retro went under. And then I went to KnobCon later that following year, I believe, and the new owners of Future Retro actually pulled me aside outside the elevator at the hotel and said, hey, we saved you a Vectra because we knew you wanted one. So this is actually one of their like special prototype units that has the actual wood sides. It's beautiful, it's weird, and I mean, what a striking visual piece. I don't know enough about it to honestly give it a pretty fair ranking beyond just like some of the initial playtime I had with it, and then I got it back from the factory and haven't had a ton of time with it since because I haven't been doing a lot of synth stuff. For right now, I'm gonna give this a pretty solid B. I'm sure it's gonna grow on me though once I really dive in and get to learn it. It's just such an odd piece. Okay, I think that's almost everything over there, but I know there's one more. Yep, sure enough, here she be, the Analog Rhythm Mark II. So, you know, if I'm being totally honest with this one, kind of got a love-hate thing with it going on. It's cool and I hate it. Really great analog drum sounds, the sample support is cool. Loading samples and stuff is kind of a pain in the ass, but like, I don't know, I feel like that's everything. Like, every piece of hardware sucks to put samples on. It's really good at like stealth action tactical drum loops. I adore it for that, and adding samples to kind of supplement the very, you know, overtly analog flavor of the drum machines works great. It's super, super powerful. If I'm being totally honest with myself, I probably would have rather bought the Syntact. I think the digital machines on that would have benefited me more and given me a little more versatility of having the analog-y stuff with some more exotic and characterful digital stuff. I don't know where I'd put this. I think a B for me. And I think that means we're now through all of the synth gear on this side of the room, but there's more over behind me, so we should probably go take a look at that. Okay, I guess we gotta do this thing since it's just over here hanging out on the couch and I'm getting tired. This is the Arturia Polybrute, the OG 6-voice version, and damn, what a synthesizer. This thing is my favorite synth I've ever played, and the only reason I'm getting rid of it is because I have the 12-voice version over there that I'm getting ready to unbox and play with, so I gotta get rid of this one because I definitely cannot justify keeping both, but holy shit, what a piece of hardware. It's super fun to do sound design on. The sounds it makes are incredible. The range and features it packs in are just unbelievable. It's just awesome. I absolutely love this thing. It's one of my favorite pieces of gear in my studio, so S tier easily, double S if I could. You know that critical moment when you're in the middle of a project and you realize how much work it's gonna be to finish it and clean up after? I think we've now reached that critical moment. But hey, rather than focusing in on that, why don't we have a talk about more synthesizers? The PWM Malevolent. The Malevolent is kind of a weird one for me. Kind of like a lot of the other stuff I've kept around here since my last major purge of shit I don't need, but for some reason tend to keep around. This is kind of an oddball one. It's definitely more of a character synth for me. Dig the sound of it, have used it quite a bit, have sampled it pretty extensively, and whenever I'm in the mood for like mean, angry analog things, this is kind of my go-to for that. But since the Polybrute got that big 3.0 update with the distortions and stuff, kind of wondering if it's gonna rival this just for the fact of polyphony, but also this, again, just has a very distinct character that I haven't heard elsewhere. So overall, A. So many boxes that I've got to clean up and figure out where to put, ba-dum-bum. The core thing with this video is it's gonna be a massive amount of work to edit, and I know that like 5 people are gonna watch it, and there's a lot of other gear I'm debating even talking about, especially when it comes to like camera stuff, and I don't know what to do because for posterity, I know I'm never ever gonna make this video again, so I feel like I should talk about it, but I don't think I will. So let's talk about gear instead. Roland SH4D. If there were ever mixed feelings about a piece of equipment, this would be in the top 10. I don't know, I have a very strong love-hate with this doodad, and I think because like a lot of Roland gear, it's got some really good ideas and they're just very half-assed. It was on my desk for a pretty long time as kind of a go-to thing, because when I want to pull up like, you know, I'm scoring something or whatever, and it's like, I need a Juno-y ARP thing. This is great for that. I need wavetable-ish, I guess. Sure, why not? It, you know, FM, but not super annoying or complicated. Cool, here you go. And I wanted it also as a drum machine to replace Microtonic, the plugin, and it does that really, really well. The sequencing is a little underwhelming, but it's good enough, and the engines are pretty limited. You can't load your own samples. There's just a lot of frustrating limitations on it, but it could be worse, but it could also be a lot better. Oh boy. Now we're getting into some of the good. I'm also realizing I hate that camera angle, so why don't you just sit right there and we can continue on. So, Arturia Mini Freak. yeah, I mean, I'm sure as you all know by now, I'm pretty much in the simp camp when it comes to Arturia. And fucking dog hair. Mini Freak, no exception to that. Super cool, like it a lot. It's what I wished the Micro Freak would be, and I still like the Micro Freak better. I don't know, I just can't put my finger on why. I think it's just that the Micro Freak has this fun factor to it. And it's built by the limitations and the weirdness of it, and that appeals to whatever goblin nerve in my brain for some reason, and this just does not scratch that same itch for me. However, it is exceptionally good, and I've used this a lot, and I keep this one up here because it is poly, and when I do need that, this does it and the Micro Freak doesn't. So pragmatically, this is my choice, but I do still have the Micro Freak. However, it's downstairs in my wife's room because she likes to play with that too, and I think it's because it's just fun. Overall, super, super strong A+, and I gotta give the S to the Micro Freak. Yeah, it feels super weird to say that, but I don't know, that's how it is. It's the way the news goes. God, remember when everyone who watched Rick and Morty was like, I'm totally Rick, because I'm like a loner, and it's like, no, you're just a douche. And I guess bringing us down to the end of things here, careful getting this out. God, that's heavier than I remember. The Expressive E Osmos here. In terms of adding expressiveness to things for plugins and hardware and whatever that supports MPE or like Poly Aftertouch or whatever, I love this thing as a controller. It's super cool, it's super unique. It takes a good bit of getting used to, and if I haven't played on it in a while, I kind of have to warm up to it again, but really unique in that regard and really good in that regard. It's super, super fun to play on, and it just brings an extra dimension to whatever you want to play with it. That being said, I fucking hate the editor for this thing, and I think I saw somewhere in like the forums or like Reddit or something that they're working on like a new version of the editor for this, and I hope to God they do, because I just can't be asked to use it. It's too much for me. I just love this thing with Dune or Pigments or Falcon or the Iridium especially. Holy shit, this plus the Waldorf Iridium is like my dream setup. And yeah, I can't knock it for that. The onboard editor is okay. You can tweak sounds with it and get them to sound different and maybe more musical or useful. Some of the presets I think are really stupid, and other presets just melt my mind at how they sound. And I wish it was easier to make sounds for, because I probably would make more sounds for it, but yeah, the editor's just too tedious for this old buckaroo. S tier insofar as that like there's not anything else like this out there. But I don't think this is useful for the average person. I guess I kind of lied to you there. We do have one more synth here in the box. Actually, I'm not gonna move that right now. I don't want to deal with it. That's the Polybrute 12, and yeah, S. I haven't even opened it, and I know it's gonna be S. I love the original Polybrute so much, and this does more, so it's just, man, I am just goddamn excited to open that package. But right now it's really hot, and it's heavy, and I don't want to move it. So why don't we go through some other odds and ends? Maybe we'll start with like guitars and stuff. All right, let's move some lights and maybe go through the old guitar pedal bag here and talk about what I got, which isn't a ton. I used to be much more of a pedal guy when I was more doing guitar stuff all the time, but these days it's just kind of a few odds and ends. So first up, I guess, Von Gone Polyphrase. Here, this thing's pretty cool. It's a delay and looper, but it has this really cool feature where it's stereo, so there's 2 ins and 2 outs, but you can actually use one of the outs as a send and one of the ins as a return, and you can put other pedals in between that path to create your own sort of custom delay effects, and I've lost many pleasant hours just fucking around with different effects chains, or even sending it into effects in the DAW and then back into this, you know, with a thing I made in like Reactor or VCV Rack or something, and that's a pretty damn cool feature. It's pretty expensive, and as a delay, it's just pretty good. It's not my favorite delay I've ever heard. As a standalone delay itself, probably C as a interesting delay pedal that does something that I think more pedals need to do. A. Von Gahn Ultra Shear. It's stereo, it looks really cool. The reverb is pretty nice. It's not my favorite reverb I've ever heard, but it's in a pedal board, it's a pretty damn good reverb. I guess I would probably give this one like a C. Maybe I ought to move closer to this camera so everyone can get the nice fetish gear shots. The hologram chroma console. This thing is a multi-effects unit. It's really cool. I use it a lot for sampling sessions just to add a little bit more vibe to things. It's stereo and all that, and super functional multi-effect pedal. I think this one's probably a solid B. Speaking of hologram, we have the microcosm from Hologram. This is the generic modular bleep bloop hipster ambient pedal that has dominated all of YouTube ever since its release. And I mean, what can I say? It's the microcosm. It's fucking great at what it does. It's not really an effect you pull out all the time unless you're looking for the microcosm sound. And for that, it's super reliable, but it's very stuck in that. It doesn't do a whole lot other than exactly what it does. It's kind of just, you know, kind of like scrolling through 12 very good variations on a thing, and that's all that it can do. So I can't knock it for that, but I can't really award it any extra points. This thing, probably a solid A. I really like this thing. I think everybody does. It's great at what it does, and there's not much else out there that gives something that same feeling. The Alexander pedals. This is the Syntax Error 2. This thing's fucking weird at best, and I really love that about it. It's just bizarre. It's kind of a pre-baked combination of a couple core ideas, you know, like distortion and crappy reverb, crappy delay, ring modulators, and things like that. So it's not super common stuff you find in guitar pedals, but it's not anything all that inventive either. For making really bizarre things happen, I think this is probably like a B tier pedal, but in terms of just overall functionality and whatnot, and usability, and I don't know, being a versatile thing I pull out all the time, and overall, I would say I give it a C. I have no super strong feelings on this one way or the other beyond when I do want it, it does exactly what I want it to do. All right, now we get into some of the other odds and ends. This is the Fairfield Circuitry About 900. It's a fuzz pedal. I think I've used this a grand total of like 4 times. I can't say much about it. It's a fuzz pedal and it sounds pretty much like a fuzz pedal sounds. I don't think there's anything particularly outstanding about the characteristics of this pedal to me, but when I need a just absolute mess of distortion on something, this is great for that. So overall, yeah, C. Oh God, this thing. Fairfield Circuitry, roger that. Man, this is a just bizarre pedal. It's not all that useful. It just kind of ruins things, and sometimes that's cool. I have mostly used this in sound design applications. I've never used this in like a direct musical context because it's so wildly out of control that you kind of have to really dial it in, do the thing with it, and that's all it's gonna do, because if you're gonna try and find that setting again, it's just not gonna work. So for that one very, very specific application, I guess by default, it's like an A or S because it's the only pedal I know that does something like this. In terms of my general feelings on it, C. Old Faithful here. This is the Fairfield Circuitry Shallow Water. It's, what do they call it, a K-field modulator or something? It's a fucking lo-fi pedal. It makes stuff go woo, 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 and whatever. It's kind of like a, you know, crappy cassette VHS emulation, woobly tape machine lo-fi pedal. It's fucking great. I love this thing. It's super cool. It has a low pass gate on it, which is really fun. It's very reactive and interesting because of that. There's a lot of different character you can get from this in terms of the lo-fi-ness of something. It's super great for adding vibe to things. My only con is that it's mono and not stereo. So for that, I would give this an A. Oh boy, the Zoom MS-70 CDR. This thing's pretty great, you know, for just like throwing quick and dirty effects on synths and stuff that don't have them, or, you know, for a quick guitar chain or whatever. Pretty cool. There's a new version of this that I think is way better and does a whole bunch more, but it's super fun, and for a stereo multi-effects pedal, it's pretty hard to beat at the price point, I think. It does have some weird noise issues when you chain certain effects together. Some of the reverbs and delays seem particularly prone to that. It's not impossible to remove with denoising, but you know, it's kind of an extra step that is annoying, but in a live application or something, I wouldn't care. I would say overall, yeah, like a solid B. I don't have all that many complaints about this thing, and I've gotten a lot of mileage out of it. The, Empress Reverb. Damn, this thing is great. I think it was Ben that kind of put me onto the Empress Reverb, and it rules. I love the different algorithms on it. It's stereo, it works great on synths and guitars, and I've plugged it into my interface to use on like vocals and cellos and whatever. Yeah, this thing is just killer. I love the Empress Reverb. Probably S tier reverb for me, for sure. Oh, Donner pedal. Which one is this? This is the reverb, I think. Yep, Donner Vintaverb. It's a multi-algorithm reverb pedal. It's stereo. It's okay. Some of the reverb algorithms are better than others. Some are pretty garbage. It's cheap, and it would work, I guess, for a stereo reverb. Yeah, C, which means this is, yep, the other Donner pedal. This is the delay. It's cheap. The algorithms are garbage. Like 2 of them are actually usable, but this was way worse than I expected it would be. I would give this, for me, a pretty distinct F. As I've said before, I am a recovering guitar player. This is not nearly as many guitars as I used to have, and it's far fewer than I've had over the course of all my years. This is my electric. It's a custom Relic Telecaster style guitar that I also did a bunch of shit to. I made my own pick guard for it. I replaced the pickups with a lipstick and a P90, because this thing is, I mean, thicker than a Taco Bell shit. Well, I don't know. Taco Bell shits are like kind of liquidy. Thicker than your mom's thighs. Oh, replaced the wiring here with reversed, so the toggle is down here because I always kept hitting it with my hand when I was playing, and then volume and tone. So that's this thing. Yeah, it needs set up again. It needs some work and probably needs some new strings. I haven't played this in a minute. If I had to rate this guitar, I don't know, sentimental value aside, it's probably a C. I know there's better guitars out there, and those guitars I've liked better, but you know, I've played this thing so much for so long that like, it's just kind of my guitar by, I don't know, every stretch. Next up is an Epiphone Thunderbird bass. Got this used for like $400 or something like that. It needs fixed right now, as you can probably tell by all the dust on it, if you can even see that. The output jack quit working, so I need to resolder it, but I just haven't had time, nor the need to. I haven't had to use this in a while, but yeah, big, heavy, bassy tone and handles lower tunings pretty well. So yeah, like it a lot. Ranking ye old Thunderbird, damn good tone, like it a lot. Probably an A, I dig it. My good old acoustic here. This is a Morgan Monroe Dreadnought something or other. They don't make this anymore, and yeah, damn good guitar. There are a few guitars I like more than this one. I love the sound. It's very Martin-y, like kind of big but really warm. Just plays great, really nice action, really nice neck. Played a lot of shows with this thing, recorded with this thing a ton. I don't know, S. There are a few guitars I like more than this thing. Now we start to get into stupid impulse buy territory, and this is no exception to that, of things I have but have no reason to own. So this thing here is an Algerian mandole. It's a really cool instrument. It's associated with shabby music, and there's a lot of really interesting history with this associated with like French Algerian culture. Pretty cool stuff. I've tried to learn some shabby music on it. I kind of have a hard time wrapping my brain around it, and it's not exactly like you can look up, you know, tabs or chord charts for like traditional shabby tunes and whatever. But for a guitar-like object that plays guitar-like sounds without sounding like a guitar, this thing is super, super cool. And it has access to a lot of just bizarre tunings because of this exceptionally long string length that wraps all the way down onto the bottom of it here. So For the weird factor and for how much joy I get out of playing this, I think a very strong A. Let's find out what's in bag number 2. I know what's in here. So this is a classical guitar I bought at a flea market, and man. I don't know that there's a guitar I like better than this one. I cannot describe the feeling this guitar gives me when I hear it and when I play it. It was $98. I went to this flea market. I was not planning on buying a guitar. I just saw this one on the shelf and picked it up and played it. I don't know. You ever just find one of those instruments that has music in it, if that makes sense? This is one of those for me. S tier, S plus. Like whatever's above S tier, that's this guy. I could sit here and play that thing all day, but we have a lot more to get through. This is another impulse buy. Went down to Tijuana with Ben on a road trip out to NAMM. We went to this really, really fantastic local guitar shop I cannot remember the name of. This is a Guitarra de Golpe, I believe is how it's pronounced. I'm so sorry if it's not. It's a 5-string guitar-like object that I believe is used in traditional mariachi music, and it's like a percussive instrument, I think is how it's normally applied. I bought this and Ben bought like a tiny tenor guitar type of thing, and this just has a really cool sound. And I know you use it for like strumming and stuff. Yeah, it's kind of a thing I bought because I knew I was never gonna use it right, but it has a cool sound and I like it for that. And it does some weird tunings. There's one fret though. Yeah, it's this one. It's really, really crunchy because it's not set right. I think I'm gonna take this to my guitar tech here in town and have him try and fix that fret for me, but pretty cool. I've recorded a fair bit of music with this just for funsies, and it's a really fun thing to play. I've released some music with it on my Bandcamp, but I want to use this more, for sure. It's a very cool one, and I guess I would give this like a B+. This guy is a Cecilio viola. I bought this because, I don't know why. I bought this because it was like cheap on Amazon and I wanted it, and I'm terrible at viola. Viola and violin are like mandolin for me, where my hands are just too big and stupid for it. I want to try and get better at it. I recorded my library volitions using this, and that's one of my favorite libraries I've ever done. So this thing, you know, kind of special place in my heart for that. Fun, cheap. The tone and stuff is like, it's, you know, it's okay. It's not gonna blow your mind, but when you put it through some stuff and do some tweaking with it, it sounds pretty damn good. And with the right mics, I dig the tone of this. I'm sure in the hands of a much more skilled player, I would rank it much higher. I would probably give this like a strong C, but it can be pretty good, and I'm sure I would rank it higher if I knew how to play it better. Guess that'll sit over there for now, and that means last up on Cameron's rack of things, this one, believe it or not, was not an impulse buy. This was a gift. This is an Appalachian dulcimer, mountain dulcimer maybe is what it's called. I want to say this is Mixolydian. I have not used this on a ton of stuff. I've used it on a couple random scoring gigs. I've sampled it pretty extensively. This is actually the library I created called Subfrost. This is what I used to create that. I like bowing it and messing with it. That's why there's a contact mic on it over here. I wish it was chromatic so I could play more with it, but because it's not, you know, it's easy enough to like sample some stuff and do whatever. But for when I need kind of that like folky vibe to something, or folky adjacent, or folky but weird, this thing's pretty good for that. And yeah, I would give this a, you know, like it's a C. It's a dulcimer, it does dulcimer things. Maybe it's weird to rank something that was a gift so low, but you know, like You could play Norwegian wood on it, so there's that. Speaking of other stringed instruments, if you'll follow me over here, my dear, this is my Cecilio cello. I also bought it at the same flea market I bought that classical guitar at. Always wanted a cello, always wanted to learn how to play cello. Ever since I played the game Hitman Blood Money especially. He plays the, what's that, Cello Suite 3 or whatever. Super famous like cello song, and it's the mission in Blood Money with the mansion and like the drug lord or whatever he was. And cello is like my spirit instrument that I wish I knew how to play better. Another one I've been practicing on and whatever, but just haven't had a ton of time to dedicate with it. I've used it on a few tracks, on a few scores. I've sampled it a ton. It really makes me want to double bass for sampling as well. And I also recorded my Strands library with it, which you may have, that's free. And yeah, it sounds actually really, really good. I'm surprised for like the Cecilio brand is kind of a cheap Amazon brand, but that's a damn good cello. And I think I paid like $200 for it. For how much joy it brings me, A, for the fact that I really, really, really wish I was better at it and how much I realistically use it and stuff, B. And thank the Lord and pass the butter. I think with that, we are almost done. What's next? Impulse buys. I got a banjo here. What the hell was the story with this? I was working on a project and I found this instrument. It's an old Turkish instrument called yali tambur, I think is how it's pronounced. And it's a lot like a banjo, but really, 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 really tall. And as you can probably guess, living here in the Nashville area, I don't exactly have access to a bunch of traditional Turkish instruments on demand. So I went again to my favorite flea market to find instruments at, and they had a banjo. And I'm actually working on a separate video about this as I'm making this one. That's why it's missing all the strings and stuff, because I gotta put more strings on it and whatever. But I bow it and it makes this really, really beautiful sound. In fact, let me delight you with the bojo. So here is how you play the bojo. You take a bow, you take a banjo, and you bow it. And when you bow it and really play something on it, you'll have to forgive me, this isn't really like my prime stance for this. It's pretty fucking cool. Yeah, I mean, another instrument I have no business realistically owning. Yeah, I mean, B, it's fun. I like it. Maracas that my mom brought me back from Mexico. But pretty cool, you know, like C, they're maracas. This thing is a Shao, I want to say is how it's pronounced. It's a flute-like object. I believe its origin is China or maybe India or something like that. It's normally made out of bamboo. This one's made out of metal because I'm a cheap bastard and found this one on Amazon for like 40 bucks. And I don't know why I bought it. It sounds cool. I really like it. When you need that sort of sound. And I'm sure it sounds great if you know how to play it, and I don't. I don't know, probably just gonna sample this and put it into a decent sampler library and like give it away as a free library or something. If you have an idea of what I should do with this for a free decent sampler project, let me know. I'll see what I can do. So outside of you know, microphones and camera gear and stuff people don't care about, I think this is gonna actually bring us to the end of the video with a couple of my other instruments in my other collection. So this is a charango, or charango, I think charango is how you pronounce it. It's a South American folk instrument. I really, really wanted a ronroco because Ben turned me onto that, but I couldn't find one when we were in LA and I found this instead, and it's like a ronroco but higher pitched. It's kind of like ukulele adjacent. It's like way out of tune. I haven't used this in a minute. I haven't played this all that much. It was definitely an impulse buy. I probably should have not bought it because I don't like the sound of it. It's too high pitch for me, and it looks really cool, but I don't know, not one of my favorite things. It's cool for recording kind of like strumming clusters and like weird, I don't know, blurs of higher pitched stringed instrument notes, and I found some use for that in scoring, and I've sampled a couple custom libraries of that, but overall, I would probably sell this and just try and buy a ronroco. So yeah, I don't know, D. Speaking of stuff in the other category, it doesn't get much more other than this, and as you could probably tell by the look of it, I built this all by myself. It's a like sound effects box. You can bop it and flick it and bow it and twist it and, you know, make noises with. And if you have a bow, you can get all those really classic and of course the obligatory creepy stuff like that. With some reverb and effects, this thing's phenomenal. And what a fun little weekend project. I had a great time building this. I know I could do a better job of building one of these if I did it again, just because of what I learned from building this one, but you know, something I've used pretty extensively for sampling and sound design and whatever. I even made a instrument out of this called Horror Box. And yeah, I've used this on a lot of scoring things. It's kind of a good atmosphere generator and just kind of a fun sound toy that sometimes is, I don't know, interesting to noodle with, I guess. That one in particular, I give myself like a C on that. If I built one again, knowing what I know now, and maybe with a little bit of help from my guitar tech here in town, I could do something pretty cool with it, I think. And I guess we literally have saved the best for last. This is a Kala 8-string baritone ukulele, and far and away, this is my favorite instrument I've ever played. I bought this after the same NAMM show I bought this Chirango at. I wanted to run Roco, and I couldn't find one anywhere in LA. And we went to NAMM, and I went to the Kala booth. There was another YouTuber there. I'm so sorry, I don't remember your name. I'll put it on the screen. There was another YouTuber there. He was a guitar player, and he just offhand mentioned like, hey, did you see Kala has an 8-string ukulele at their booth? And I went and played it, and instantly fell in love. I could hardly hear it over all the noise of NAMM, but I was just like, oh my God, this is like the sound I've been after. I asked the people at the Kala booth, would you sell me this? Like, I will buy this from you right here today. And they said no, because it was like the only one they had left. I thought they were full of shit, but they weren't, because then I went home and immediately jumped online and could not find this thing anywhere. There was one left on Amazon, and I got it. And maybe you can still find one, but I don't know. But just holy hell, this is... I mean, there's nothing I love more in this world, instrument-wise, than this. And if you would have told me at pretty much any point in my musical career, like, your favorite instrument is going to be a ukulele, I would have been like, fuck you, you're lying. But my God, this is the greatest sounding thing I've ever played, and how happy this thing makes me to play. And I've recorded some music with this. I released on Bandcamp. I've used this to score some of my videos. I've used this on a couple scoring projects. I want to sample this someday, but like, I don't know. It's like too special to me to sample. I don't know how to describe it. It's like I have to play it. I don't want samples of it. I want to play this thing. It's my like pick up and play with thing. It's my, I don't know. It's just like my favorite thing. And I would have never believed you. And like, there has never been an instrument that has like legitimately brought tears to my eye other than this. Everything about this is my favorite thing on earth. So the Kala 8-string baritone ukulele, whatever's above S tier and then whatever's like 80,000 degrees above that, that's this. So I guess that's it. That's my MTV cribs here. And I don't really even have a space on the couch to sit, so floor it is, I guess. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sure 99.9% of you are no longer watching, but that's okay. For the 0.01% of you that stuck around, maybe this was interesting. I don't know what the objective with this video was. But that's it. If you enjoyed it and you want to support this channel, you can do so by hanging out on Discord or whatever, or you can check out my free instruments I release for Decent Sampler. I've got a bunch of them. I'm gonna make a bunch more. I'm gonna make one out of this damn banjo at some point. You could also become a patron if you want and buy me a coffee so that I can maybe use the money people send me to buy a coffee to hire someone else to clean this up, because this is gonna suck. But yeah, that's it. God damn it, I don't want to clean this up.